A glamorous retired Chicago judge is disbarred after scamming $240,000 from her Tuskegee Airman survivor uncle while he was in a senior care home. Like, how much of a disgusting human being you gotta be to do this to your family member, right? This has like always confused me. Is like, it's one thing to commit a crime against a stranger, like that's already bad enough, but you take it a whole nother level by doing it to your own loved one. Like, that's some dark stuff. So, a former Chicago judge accused of stealing 240K from her uncle has been stripped of her law license. The Illinois Supreme Court has disbarred Patricia Martin, who sat on the bench in Cook County for 24 years, effective immediately after admitting to misconduct. Which, by the way, to me, like, it doesn't even make sense to do something like this because, like, you were a judge for 24 years and you had to go steal 240,000 from your uncle. You should have made a lot of money as a judge during that time. Martin, who's frequently photographed draped in gold jewelry, had been placed in charge of handling the life savings of her uncle, Oscar Wilkerson Jr., her uncle. His family and the state legal disciplinary agency claimed she took $240,000 of his money and sunk more than $100,000 into cryptocurrency. Like, that is so beyond stupid. Martin was ordered to pay her uncle three times as much back, totaling $1.1 million to his estate after failing to respond to court orders and healings. The thing is, though, like, would he even be able to get any money back, like, to his estate? Probably not. According to an affidavit obtained by CBS, Martin acknowledged that the evidence would clearly and convincingly establish the facts and conclusions of misconduct. Man. The outlet also reported that the Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission said she intentionally used for her own purposes more than $240,000 she had agreed to hold for an elderly relative who was residing in a nursing home, made false statements to the physician who held her relative's power of attorney about the balances in his bank and investment accounts, and did not produce documents in response to an ARDC subpoena. And despite her admission, Martin has argued that she shouldn't have to pay the $1.1 million to her uncle's estate since he now passed. What? So basically, it's in like, I mean, as long as I robbed someone and they died, like, I don't gotta pay them back. Like, what kind of scumbag are you? Like, if you steal money and you get caught stealing money, you gotta pay that money back, period, regardless if that person's still alive or not. Like, man. And again, doing this to your own family member. Her lawyer wrote the plaintiff's death suspends the court's jurisdiction in this matter. Wilkerson was a highly decorated Tuskegee Airman and civil rights pioneer who was one of the first black military pilots to fight for the United States in the war before he settled down in Chicago. He trusted Martin, who is his former wife's niece, to look after his finances as his health deteriorated, but sued her last September and said she took advantage of his old age and hid his retirement money. The veteran died a day before his 97th birthday on February 8th and spent his final days at an Orland Park senior living home while Martin was looking after his bank, 401k, and Social Security accounts. She was a judge for 24 years and was a presiding judge of the Cook County Juvenile Court's Child Protection Division when she retired in 2020, a month after she took control of Wilkerson's finances. So basically, she probably decided to retire because she had immediate access to this large sum of cash. But again, like, to me, it's like, you were working as a judge for 24 years. I'm fairly certain a judge's like salary is pretty darn high, even for a government employee. So, like, where the hell did you spend all your money? Like, why did you not have money? or that you just like already had money and you still wanted more. In April 2022, she reported that he had about 50,000 in his checking account and 120,000 in a retirement account according to the original lawsuit. But alarm bells were raised in July when Wilkerson was allegedly notified that he owed $41,296.10 to the retirement home he was living in because payments had not been made in recent months. He found out his accounts had been emptied, and it wasn't clear where his Social Security and pension payments were being deposited, the court documents state. Martin did not respond to questions about where the money had gone or requests for information during the litigation, according to court records. And in October, Wilkinson's attorney said that they were voicing their concerns to the Cook County State Attorney's Office, the Illinois Attorney General's Office, and the Illinois Department of Aging. They claimed former Judge Martin had dissipated funds and may be engaging in risky crypto transactions that threaten the remaining funds that exist less than a month later. And following Wilkerson's death, Martin was then ordered by Judge Demacopoulos to refrain from transferring or using any further funds at a hearing on April 6. Wilkerson's lawyers obtained records through a subpoena which showed his money being wire transferred to cryptocurrency exchange accounts that were emptied, a May 11th filing stated. The latest transactions were between April 6th and April 28th, which totaled $2,875.20 and went against the judge's order. The veteran's attorneys then wrote to the judge to ask Martin to demonstrate why she shouldn't be held in contempt of court and order her to return the money and show where she put it. They then reported that a total of $383,236.75 had been taken out of his accounts, and other people had to come together to pay the money owed to Wilkerson's retirement home. And the lawyers asked for Martin to be sanctioned for not answering the questions or providing records of where the money went, and asked for a default judgment of $1,229,384.31. During her career, Martin was appointed by former President Barack Obama to join the Commission to Eliminate Child Abuse and Neglect Fatalities in 2013. And Wilkerson joined the Tuskegee Airmen, the first black aviation combat unit, after leaving high school in 1944. Like, to me, like, there's so many things, like, disgusting about this. It's like, you technically have basically, like, a war hero who lived a long life and was thinking that, you know what, I'm at the very least going to have, like, a somewhat comfortable end, right? Where I'm not having to worry about finances because I saved up all my money, to then have it all stolen from your own family member. Like, that's just so wrong. The group suffered significant racial discrimination while serving because of segregation of the military at the time, and the military had no intention of using black pilots. The real mission, the underlying mission, was for us to fail and prove their point, Ferguson previously said in an interview. But their bravery in the war helped pave the way for desegregation, and they were awarded a Congressional Gold Medal in 2006. And he frequently toured churches and schools to tell the story of how the Tuskegee Airmen shattered the stereotype that black men couldn't be combat pilots. And Ferguson, the last known surviving member of the group in Chicago, used to introduce children to aviation and take them on their first flights for free through the Experimental Aircraft Association's Young Eagles program. And he also worked as a DJ and hosted his own radio show until he retired. Yeah. I feel so bad, like, reading this because the guy seemed to be like a really decent human being and getting screwed over like that. Let's see some of these comments. Shame on you. Kenna puts all her cases under the spotlight. Scam a relative. So how many of her judicial rulings were for sale? Good point. Real nice way to embarrass the family's name. I'm confused why she's being called glamorous. I think the reason why they put like glamorous in like the title is because apparently she probably always had like jewelry in her photos. How low can you go? Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing, right? if your mental like faculties are there, you probably shouldn't let people like have control over your money. Now that being said, if you know that there's like a risk where you're going into retirement age and you know that you're not going to be able to really like handle the finances, it'd be better for you to put your money into a trust and then have someone appointed to manage the trust, right? Because they have to legally do what the trust basically tells them to do, right? So let's say that you are like 80 years old or 65 years old, whatever your retirement age, but you know that probably in a couple of years you might have like Alzheimer's or something, right? You know it's going to go downhill pretty quick to where you're going to be going into a retirement home. What you could set up is to move all of your funds into a trust or managed by a trust where you are like appointing basically almost like a CEO of that trust, of someone that you trust, funny enough. And they legally have to do what the trust tells them to do. So if the trust basically is set up in a way where like, okay, all the money coming in from Social Security has to be like paid in this way or be used in this way. All the money in my retirement accounts has to be used in this way. Oh, all the money in my savings account has to be used in this way. And you could set it up in a way where pretty much things get paid almost automatically, but the person's just like managing it, making sure like everything gets signed correctly, all that kind of stuff, right? But they can't legally go against what the trust says. Which in this case, it seems like he didn't have a trust. He literally just gave her basically power to manage his finances, which is something you never really want to do. Even when it comes to like family, it's like you have to set things up in a way where things just get done and there's no sort of any kind of like temptation to do weird shady stuff even when it comes to family, because like even though you might trust your family like 100%, who knows, maybe something bad happens in their life to where they feel like they got no choice but to basically steal from you. So like it's just good to put barriers to prevent this.